they really don't want to focus on this all summer. So I don't think once Romney leaves this topic, the rest of conservative America, certainly, you know, not a plurality of conservative America, is still going to be hailing Obamacare, Obamacare, Obamacare. That's just me. So rile up the base gets an X mark. The spin I like, because I actually find it has some intellectual honesty and merit, is this idea that somehow we can now call this a tax, something that Obama insisted for years it was not. In fact, we have a great clip from a 2009 interview that Obama did with George Stephanopoulos.
Under this mandate, the government is forcing people to spend money, fining you if you don't. How is that not a tax?
For us to say that you've got to take a responsibility to get health insurance is absolutely not a tax increase.
Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Tax, a charge usually of money imposed by authority on persons or property for public purposes.
George, the fact that you looked up Merriam's dictionary, that the definition of tax increase indicates to me that you're stretching a little bit right now.
That is huge.
I think a new tax is an increase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course. And like we said before...
Yes, it is.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
Like we said before, it's almost as if the Supreme Court said your initial argument that this wasn't a tax is wrong, but we found a good one that works. It is a tax. So in some sense, the Supreme Court just corrected the president with this ruling. And I think a winning argument going forward throughout the summer from Republicans is to hammer on that this president is sort of invoking a huge middle-class tax hike through the passage of Obamacare. I think that resonates. I think that impacts economy and jobs, which people want to talk about. It gets us away from the policy of the health care bill and back onto the economics of the health care bill. I think that's a winner, so that gets a check mark for me. Finally, I just want to talk about some of the spiking the ball, which I'm so over this term. We need a new metaphor. But spiking the ball. There were some poor winners today. Nancy Pelosi is throwing a party.
Oh, God, I can't even take it.
As you know.
Hurts.
Which, I mean, you know, my conservative friends and I were just, I mean, mad at America today. We were mad today.
There's some profane tweets from
We
the DNC.
were mad. There was a profane tweet from a gentleman named Patrick Gaspard, who happens to be the executive director of the DNC, who tweeted out today, and I'm just going to say it, it's constitutional, bitches. Classy stuff.
There was one even worse than that from another day.
I'm sure there were a lot worse.
Mature.
Tweets. Mature, classy, and way to respect the American electorate. Great. In the Supreme Court. But that's where I'm standing. So what do you guys think?
Can I just say...
How does Mitt Romney win?
I'm sorry. Can I just say that it's terrible there's a new entitlement imposed on the American public. It's terrible that Liberty took a defeat today, but I have to put, maybe in the top three, the Nancy Pelosi statement. Constitutional? Are you serious? Now she's validated, and that makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
You're right, by the way. The biggest winner out of this politically is Mitt Romney to say this guy raised taxes on Americans. Not just that, he raised taxes on the middle class, something he explicitly promised not to do.
Right.
Well, maybe he'll call it a penalty then in the fall. Say it's not a tax, it's a penalty. That's what we've always said.
I want to take on your contention, though, that Republicans, or Mitt Romney in particular, is going to pivot off of Obamacare, that this is not a political winner for him because of Romneycare. So that may be the case for Mitt Romney, but I think we need to also look down ticket. And an email that I got today right away, Richard Murdoch from Indiana. Have it right here, Murdoch for Senate.
Who reported 3 versions of a response to this.
Well, he sent this out right away attacking Obamacare.
He had to prepare,
And so I think down ticket you're going to see Republican unity in voicing their opposition to Obamacare. You need to elect Republicans in the House, in the Senate, in the White House, so that Obamacare can be repealed. They've been they were ready to make that argument. And on the Democratic side, I think you're going to see a lot of disunity, which is a problem for Democrats. Claire McCaskill has already said she's against the individual mandate. So it's going to be interesting to see how individual Democrats decide how they're going to approach this vis-a-vis the National Party.
Certain Democrats, elected Democrats, are going to have to sort of back off of this because they know, as our polls pointed out, that this is still a toxic issue in the populace, regardless of what the Supreme Court said. So certain Democrats are going to have to do that. I just don't, and I take your point, certain Republicans are going to seize on this, But I think that's going to be a short-term thing. I really don't think that in
I have a concern.
October,
I have a question that I want to
they're going to be hearkening back to Obamacare.
I think it depends on how Romney plays this, though.
Okay.
If he emphasizes the economic aspect of it and ties that to the bigger economic picture, I think that can really ring true for a lot of people. It's really going to depend on him. I saw a lot of Tea Party people today saying this is the revival, this is why we fought so hard in 2010. I don't know if that's going to last today, but I think a lot of it depends on whether or not Mitt Romney is able to tie all of these things together and create a bigger picture and really make it about the taxation, make it about this, Obama's playing this class warfare. In the meantime, look what he's doing to middle-class Americans across the board.
I still have a question about this, actually, which is you've shown these polls. The concern that I would have about these is this. Yes, only, 26% like this law. But we've discussed before, this could be a very narrow race. And this law has a lot of goodies for a lot of people.
Right.
In the millions. Right. Not just, a few people here and there. This is giving people health care who did not have it, which I think can turn them into, very obviously, single-issue voters. These other people, what was your math again? 67%, thank you. These other 67%, maybe they're focused on the economy. Who's better at handling national security? Who's better, whatever the questions may be. But I worry that this single-issue component could tip the balance in Obama's favor. I think that's the gambit they're playing. Even if it's unpopular, it gets it done for them.